Good afternoon, good day, good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you to yet another Better Living Conversation. I'm the Reverend Charles M. Taylor, Senior Minister for the Universal Truth Center for Better Living. And today I have the honor and the pleasure of having a conversation with my dear friend and colleague in the ministry, the Reverend Sherri James. So Sherri, I want to welcome you to our Better Living Conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. You're very welcome. So I want to get started, Sherri, by you just telling us a little bit about yourself and how did you start this journey, this third journey on into New Thought and your current role as a senior minister for the Up Church, Universal Principles.
Well, thank you for asking that. I started this journey in New Thought before I even knew the term New Thought. Okay. So it started with my mom, and my mom didn't know the term New Thought, but she had been practicing and she'd been studying and practicing to some extent New Thought principles. For example, she had been a part of Silva Mind Control and learning how to control your mind. She had studied Transcendental Meditation and taught me Transcendental Meditation. In fact, I'm technically certified in Transcendental Meditation, which is something that happened when I was like Jordan's age, like around 5 or 6.
Oh, cool.
And then from there, when I was a teenager, she introduced me to thinkers like Tony Robbins and Les Brown and Ken Blanchard and other people that we know are affiliated with New Thought. Mm-hmm. When I got to Los Angeles, I really wasn't looking for a church, but I knew what I wanted as far as a life of philosophy.
Right.
And a friend who's now my assistant minister invited me to attend Understanding Principles Church, where Della Reese was the minister and founder. And I agreed, and I've been there ever since.
Okay, cool. Fantastic. So yeah, you and I, we have something in common. You know, we both took leadership of churches after the transition of a truly iconic figure. You know, UTC's founder was, of course, the Reverend Dr. Mary Tumpkin. And she was the founder minister here. And when she made a transition, she was the current president of UFBL. And her transition created a really a call for UFBL to evolve, and for me personally, to evolve as a minister, to serve both UTC and in the UFBL. And you followed your founder, the Reverend Della Reese Lett, who was not only a legend in UFBL, but she was widely known as an entertainer and a celebrity. I mean, talking about shoes to try to fit into. So tell me something. What did you learn from your journey following the Reverend Della Reese Lett to become senior minister? What did you gain and what did you choose to lose? I know, like for me, let me just tell you, for me, for example, I had to lose the idea that I had to be like Mary. You know, that's one of the things I had to lose. And another thing I had to lose, though, too, was people's attachment to who I was before I became senior minister and who I evolving even now into becoming now. Because a lot of people knew me from before, you know, because I'm a charter member of the church. So they knew me growing up through the church and so forth. But I had to become a totally different individual as a senior minister, as a CEO of this church, different than who I was before. So I had to let that go and just let go of people's opinions of me, who I was then and who I am now. So tell me about your journey following the Reverend Della Reese Lett.
Yes, that is such a great question. So where do I start? So she has such large shoes to fill that I just decided not to try to fill her shoes.
Correct.
And to really own that I had my own call.
Yes.
I had my own purposes. and I had my own responsibility to God, and that and to really get, and forgive me, there's construction happening outside my house. Like I can,
That's okay. That's okay.
okay, that I really had to own that I have my path, and my path is not the path of Della Reese.
Correct.
And to get that I wasn't really being called to do what she did. I was being called to nurture what she started.
Amen.
And so very often when I pray about understanding principles, my prayer sounds like this. Thank you, God, for choosing me as one of the leaders for nurturing this idea in this season. So I think of the church as a seed.
Okay.
And it's in this season. I think it's the from Paul that says, "I planted, Apollos watered, but God gives the increase."
Correct.
That all I am is just being Paul or
Right.
Apollo water, whoever watered.
Yeah.
That's my job.
Gotcha.
My job is the watering.
Gotcha.
And so that helps me let go of needing to be her or be like her, because before she got into ministry, she had spent years developing a presence. So she came into ministry with an understanding of communication and how to move people and how to connect with them, because she had been doing that for years as an artist. And so that really served her. I'm gonna get my headphones.
That's okay.
She came into ministry just knowing how to do that. That wasn't my background. My background was as a filmmaker, as a yes.
Okay.
Get my headphones so that I can hear. I think it's going to make our sound a lot better. But so she came into ministry in that, and I didn't come that way.
Right.
And I think I would have been running up the wrong hill if I had tried to act like I had that skill set.
Amen.
If I had tried to act like I had that understanding. And so I resigned that I was going to be the best me. And then that freed me to let God speak through me the way that God speaks through me, and to own that. And then I believed enough in what God wanted to say through me. I didn't believe that I was, I didn't believe that what I had was less than what she had. And I trusted that what God wanted to say through me had value. And even in places where I may have been insecure, it didn't. I was very secure in that God had something special to say through me. Amen. Even if I didn't have 100% confidence in it, I was confident in God's desire to speak through me.
Gotcha. So in other words, you had to come into the being comfortable with you.
Yeah. 100%.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So to that point, because I'm a very ambitious person.
Yeah.
I'm very driven and demanding. I've done I don't know if you've ever done the DISC assessment, but the D, the I, and the C, I'm 99D.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
So for me, there was a comfort level with being that type of woman. Yeah. That type of woman is associated with being I can't use that word here, but not a nice word that begins with a B.
Assertive.
Assertive. There you go. Yes. That's a good way to put it. That's a nice euphemism. Yes. And so my journey into ministry and really leadership has been being comfortable with, this is who I am. I am a decisive person. I take charge. I'm comfortable being in charge. I like being in charge. And if you give me enough time, I will tell you what to do. And so that isn't the image of what is feminine and all of that. And so I had to make peace with that. Correct. I had to just really own that, hey, this is the package. And, going back to that, what they used to say, my God, don't make junk,
Right. Got you. I got you. So best boss. Okay. Best boss for the B. Okay. So We'll just leave it at that, okay?
That's it. That's
right. That's false. Okay, got you. So listen, today we are facing some challenging times. It started with the COVID pandemic, and we're still involved in the middle of that. And then we moved to the social unrest that's going on, and so forth. So, tell me, how does today's social challenges require us to grow as individuals?
I believe that challenges come to change us. Mm-hmm. And not so much to change us so much as to bring out different aspects of who we thought we were.
Okay.
So, in reality, we are complete. There's nothing lacking. But there may be qualities that are not at the forefront of your character. Mm-hmm. And so every change, right now we're dealing with an external change, but there are other changes that happen in our lives. Every change comes to bring a new quality of yourself to the forefront. Mm-hmm. And so part of managing change is being a willing participant in allowing what desires to come forth. Okay. So right now there is a level of creativity, there's a level of flexibility and adjustment. We're having to let go of what we think we should be doing, how we think we should be doing it, and being open to, well, what does this moment call for? Right. And one of the conclusions that I have come to as the leader of a growing global ministry is that everything in this universe grows. The trees are unaware that COVID is happening. They are still growing. The bugs seem to be unaware too, because they don't seem to be decreasing. Like everything seems to be unaware that COVID is happening. So I do not believe the call is for us to shrink. I believe the call is for us to grow. And so what we started asking at Up Church is, well, how can we grow now? And so this past weekend, we just conducted our first virtual orientation for our church. And we're going to be exploring in the next couple of weeks our virtual spiritual baptism and how do we create a sacred experience in this virtual format. So because grow we must. I don't believe that we're being called to be on hold. I do think we're being called to be self-reflective, but self-reflective doesn't require being on hold. Okay, cool. So tell me, what else are you doing at Up Church? Sure. During this time to move through this season, that you could perhaps share with us in South Florida as far as best practices? So we already had a hybrid scenario of online and in person by dint of circumstances. We have never been in our own building. We have always been in hotels. Okay. We're physically in a church right now, but it's not a church that we own. So even our service time is different than the normal worship, what people think of as the normal worship time. So we have church at 1 p.m. Okay. So when everything happened and we went virtual, we already had virtual avenues. For example, we were in the midst of our Lenten season and we already had a daily telecall that was happening. That was being managed by Reverend Sherri Thompson, who's the assistant minister. Our classes immediately pivoted and went online because, again, it was already what we were doing. We already had classes online. The Bible Hangout was already online. Right. So we just started filling in other spaces. So we added a weekly check-in on Wednesdays noon via Zoom. Like I said, the Saturday prayer call was already there. The Bible Hangout was already online. Our service, we had just begun streaming our service. And so we just kept going. We were already streaming the service. So then we changed the way that we were doing it because our people didn't feel comfortable coming in the building and recording. So then we started taping everything in our home. And so all of our meetings, like I said, we were already there. So our entrepreneurial ministry, which is in the midst of a book study on Maria Nemeth's The Energy of Money, they is basically moved to a virtual format for that book club. Our prayer chaplains, which, I learned about the prayer chaplain program that Reverend Leilani developed through experiencing it at UTC. That program, we don't have the in-person praying, although I'm about to fix that. But what we do have is our prayer chaplains making their wellness calls. And of course, and then what we did for that was that we created an account with Google Voice so that even though we couldn't marry it to our church phone number, we could marry it to a single number that every prayer chaplain is calling from. With the in-person prayer, I participated in a coaching thing via Zoom, and I'm going to do this with our prayer chaplains. What the format is that it's a period of time when the line is open and somebody is there acting as like the tech person. And then the person who's calling in for prayer calls in, the prayer chaplain that's on duty is already there, and then they're put into a breakout room. And then they handle their prayer right there, and then when it's over, come out of the breakout room. So it's using the technology that's there because again, the trees have not stopped growing. Yeah. Every tree on my block is green, and I don't even live in a rich neighborhood. So grow we must.
Yes, we must. One of the things I really appreciate is our friendship. And people probably don't know that, but we call each other at least once or twice a week and just talk about ministry and church and so forth. And I find that it helps to pollinate our consciousness with ideas. Yes. So I'm saying that because you just gave me some ideas just now that I want to implement. And tomorrow on our call, we'll talk about it. Yes. So thank you. I thank you. I really appreciate that. So,
let me tell you this quote. There's a quote because Reverend Shirley Lawson gave it to me. So people say you are the sum total of the people that you keep around you. We've heard that. Right. But this is the way that Reverend Shirley Lawson said it. She said you inherit the destiny of the people that you keep around you. And something about that phrasing was like it made got chill bumps right now just thinking about that. So I just wanted to share that because when she said it, I said, "Girl, I'm taking that. I'll give you credit, but I'm gonna run with that."
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm gonna use it too. So, with the current resurgence of COVID and the inconsistent government responses to bad policing, and much of our current climate has to do with the negative impact of poor civic leadership. How do you think ministers should be involved in advocating political change? I mean, do you think we should be involved in advocating political changes? And if so, what does it look like?
Sure. Well, I think that's a great question. I think our first responsibility are to the people that we serve and to equipping them to respond to this moment. Okay. And I think that more than anything else is that we first must operate in our direct sphere of influence. So I think it's helping our people understand how to manage the news sources. It's helping them to understand how should they be standing in the absence of good civic leadership. It's educating them how should they be, what spiritual principles should they be utilizing in the face of systemic police brutality. So I feel like that's the first responsibility is telling the people how to think about this moment and giving them the tools to manage it because we're watching it. It does something to you. Everything that you take in does something to you. So taking in what I call this trauma porn has an impact on your spirit, on your soul. And so it's equipping people to heal themselves from the trauma porn. Then second to that, then it really is, what did God call you to do? And I don't know that I feel like each person has their unique responsibility. And so that responsibility might be just supporting the people in your community. Or it might include going out and speaking in a more public sphere. So I think beyond serving the people that you're called to serve, then it's what did God tell you to do? And if God didn't tell you to get out there and be on the front lines, then don't get out there and be on the front lines. I don't think everybody is supposed to be on the front lines. I think that there are, like, everybody has a space that is their right and perfect space. And so I think that ministers need to be prayerful about where am I being called to serve, and then wherever I'm being called to serve, to then show up.
Okay, great. Sometimes I feel like we as spiritual leaders are living between two worlds.
Mm-hmm.
So we got the spiritual aspect, and we got what's happening on the ground, if you will.
Yes.
So, how do we encourage and demonstrate working in the spiritual dimension of life when the issues of the world seem so urgent and distracting?
So first of all, I think you cannot give what is not alive in you.
Okay.
So I think it starts at home, meaning in your consciousness.
Right.
And so the work for any minister is first and foremost a work in their own hearts.
Okay.
How are you showing up when you see the trauma? How are you showing up when, little things like, I just refuse to check the sad emoji. It's just, okay. I'm just not going to affirm that. Just a little stuff,
gotcha.
I'm just not going to affirm sadness.
Okay.
Now, I will affirm the need for restoration, the need for rejuvenation, the need for the softening of the heart, so that I can release. Right, exactly. So I can affirm that, but I can't affirm sadness. I can't affirm the phrase, I can't breathe. I can't affirm that. That's not in my, that's not in my lexicon, because the truth is that my breath comes from God.
Gotcha.
And that no man actually gets to determine when my breath leaves my body, no matter how random these things may seem. Right. And so it's living that truth, and then cultivating messages that serve people and give them how to show up in this moment.
Gotcha.
I believe this moment is our greatest opportunity to grow, to stretch, to become more than we have ever imagined. And it is what you do during the crisis that determines who you are after the crisis. Because the truth is that this moment is going to pass. We cannot say the day or the hour, although my son declares that it's all going to be over on his birthday, November 10th, 2020.
Okay.
So I'm going with that. I'm going with that prognostication.
I love it.
But absent a known end date, we know that there shall be an end date, that there will come a day when we are out of this phase of physical distancing. We're out of this phase of wearing masks when we're outside of our home. We're out of this phase of police brutality. We're out of it. And so the question is, who will you be? Because the time is going to pass. And so I feel like the attention, not just for ministers, but for everybody, is on what am I doing every day? Because even in the midst of all of this, I'm still in the process of becoming. And so never let my becoming be sacrificed at the altar of who I am right now.
Right. Correct. Yeah. So at the beginning of this, I had the same message, and basically I asked the question, who will you be on the other side of this?
Yes.
So that's what you were pointing to.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is never let a good crisis go to waste.
Amen. I feel the same way. And you just mentioned something. I have to bring this into the space that you are a mother.
Yes.
And you are a working mother.
Yes.
And just share with us what's that like, and what message will you have for parents during this time?
So that is interesting.
Yeah.
I got thrown into homeschooling, which was unexpected.
Correct.
Unlike what happened in other places in ministry, we never shut down. In fact, I feel like we're working 3 times, 4 times more.
I feel it.
Yeah, it is because these services have to be delivered finished for Sunday, and all of our workflows were planned for Sunday. But there's something about the live experience, not like you can wing a sermon, but you can prepare to a certain point and then let the Spirit finish, right?
Right.
You can't do that on recording. No. On a recording, you got to finish that puppy all the way in through to the end. And then it's all the other elements to get it to cohere and like make it a unique
the final product. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So in that way, I feel like my job has blossomed.
Mm-hmm.
But then second to that, then you add to it the mom piece and not being able to bring in babysitting. Because before COVID, when we weren't sheltered at home, I still had a heavy workload,
Right.
but I could at least deposit him at school during the middle of the day and work. And so what has defaulted and has really been a challenge is that he's on video a lot of times. And it's really, really, it's tough because before he never got that much video. Yeah. And, you read all the stats about, leaders don't watch that much TV. And so I'm thinking, I'm not raising a leader because all he's doing is watching TV because I got to get my workday has got to happen. So right. That's been really challenging. It's like, okay, we have to counteract this. I don't know what that's going to mean, how right. It's going to be, but like he's had a ton of video for the last several months simply because I got to get work done.
Gotcha. Okay. So you still trying to find the balance here.
I think so. I think I'm better than I was. I mean, at the start, I was complaining a lot about it, and I had to catch myself with the complaints.
Gotcha.
So I think I'm better than I was.
Okay. Gotcha.
And I'm improving.
Great. So we got about 5 minutes. So we obviously at a tipping point in society. Times like this brings about great change. So how can we know on a personal level when we are at a tipping point in life, and what can we do when we get to that tipping point to move forward in a positive way? Sure.
So I really have a different approach. Mm-hmm. My approach is to put all of my attention on the seed time and a few minutes on the harvest.
Gotcha.
Because I don't believe it has not been my experience. I've been my lived experience that I have a lot of control over the results, gotcha. But I have all of my control over the effort. Gotcha. And so where I concentrate is on the effort, on what am I doing on a daily basis? How am I managing myself on a daily basis? What are my daily activities? So I have a tracker. Mm-hmm. And I think we've talked about this before, right, but I have my habit tracker, right. And so this is a tracker that I developed that actually will be in my next book, The Miracle Journal. Okay. But literally I have everything broken down according to like, what are the things that I do to serve my spirit on a daily basis? Right. What are the things that I do to serve myself in terms of personal growth on a daily basis? What are the things that I do in terms of health and appearance? Mm-hmm. What are the things that I do in terms of my career and my business? Mm-hmm. What about my personal finances? What about my family time? What is that? And then my relationships, like what do I do? And so I have things that I check off every day. And so I really only concentrate on the seed time. And I believe that the harvest will take care of itself. Gotcha. And I have found that in a former incarnation, I put a lot of attention on, Case in point. Okay. Right. I put a lot of attention on the harvest, and I found that then I was neglecting the seed time, so there'd be all these spaces in between the harvest. Yeah. And so now that I'm only concentrating on the seed time, it's like harvest after harvest after harvest after harvest. So I do take time to enjoy that harvest a little bit, right. But not so much that I lose sight of the seed time. Like the seed time never stops being a factor. I guess you could think of this as this is my seed planting process. Gotcha. on a daily basis that I do. Gotcha. And I know you shared that with me earlier, and in the year I need some coaching on that. Okay, I'm just declaring it right now. I got you. Okay. So as we close this out, what final word do you have for our listeners? As far as moving forward in a powerful, successful, healthy way? So my words are that to realize that your divine assignment has not been canceled or suspended due to the pandemic. Great. That the businesses may have closed, that restaurants may not be open, the bars may be shut down, the beaches might be curtailed, but you have gotten no such reprieve on your divine assignment. That's right. Your life is not on hold. Yes.
Right.
Grow we must.
Yes, yes. And that's my message for this coming Sunday, believe it or not. Your
Yeah.
life is not on hold.
Yes.
Okay. Great, great. So, Reverend Sherri James, my good friend, thank you very
Yes.
much for sharing your words of wisdom with us today. I
Thank
pray
you.
that this conversation would bless others who are listening to this at this time. And I want you to have a wonderful day. Give my love and regards to your son.
Thank
And
you.
peace and blessings to you. And I will see you on the other side of this call sometime this week.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Peace and blessings to you.
All right. Take care.